technology. In my last video, I explained about what is oxidative phosphorylation and mechanism of electron transport chain. Now, in this video, I want to explain ATP synthesis through electron transport chain. Within electron transport chain, electrons are transported from one complex to another complex, which leads to ATP synthesis. Here, how ATP is going to synthesize by this electron journey, by this electron transport chain. Very simple answer is chemiosmotic coupling. Okay, during the transport of electrons, particular chemiosmotic coupling hypothesis carried out. Here chemiosmotic coupling is nothing but as electrons are passed to the protein complexes of the electron transport chain, protons are pumped from the matrix into the intermembrane space of the mitochondria. The result is a proton or pH gradient across the inner membrane. Means during the transport of electrons within the electron transport chain, here from the mitochondrial matrix, protons are translocated into the intermembrane space. Particular amount of protons translocated into the intermembrane space. As a result, within the intermembrane space, due to accumulation of protons, pH become low. Here, electrons are transported from one complex to another complex, finally reaches to oxygen, which involved in water molecule. During this process, what happened? Some amount of protons are translocated into the intermembrane space, and also not only from the NADH plus and also FADH2 also participated. See here from FADH2 electrons from one complex to another complex, finally involved in water molecule. Here also two pairs of hydrogen ions. Here, if electrons are transported from NADH plus, there are three pairs of protons get translocated to intermembrane space. If electrons are transported from FADH2, there are two pairs of hydrogen ions are translocated to intermembrane space. As a result, within the intermembrane space, pH become decreases. And also here, positively charged molecules or increases within the intermembrane space. That is then the matrix, mitochondrial matrix. As a result, electrochemical gradient. And also due to accumulation, due to increasing the number of protons within the intermembrane space, that is then matrix. What about here? Proton gradient and also pH gradient, which all the gradients will result in the oxidative phosphorylation, nothing but ATP synthesis. Here once again, electrons are transported from NADH plus, finally reach to oxygen, will involve in water molecule. During this journey, protons are translocated intermembrane space, and whatever the translocated protons into intermembrane space, they are enter into ATP synthesis. Through ATP synthesis, ATPs are going to synthesize. Observe here, if one proton is translocated into intermembrane space, which leads to one ATP synthesis. In this manner, from NADH plus, 3 proton pairs are translocated. As a result, 3 ATPs are going to synthesize. From FADH2, 2 proton pairs are translocated into intermembrane space, which leads to 2 ATP formation. See here, from FADH2, 2 pairs, which leads to formation of 2 ATP. See here, 3 for NADH plus and 2 ATPs for FADH2 during the electron transport chain. That is due to chemiosmotic coupling. here chemiosmotic gradient or proton gradient or electrochemical gradient due to developing all the type of gradients which lead to ATP formation. Here, whatever the protons are accumulated within the intermembrane space, they try to enter into the matrix through ATP synthase. Once proton enter into the ATP synthase, and again here ATP synthase is made up of two subunits, F0 particle, F1 particle. When this proton is interacted with the F0 particle, which is located at basal point, now F0 particle will be activated and excited, which pass the signal to F1 particle. And again F1 particle is made up of gamma subunit, one long gamma, and at the tip portion of gamma will having all the 3 alpha and 3 beta subunits. When proton interacts the F0, which is made up of C channel proteins, now channels will be give signal towards the gamma. Now gamma physically rotates. By that rotation within the alpha and beta subunit, some of the conformational changes carried out, and which leads to the ATP formation by using the adenosine diphosphate and inorganic phosphate moiety, that too within the matrix. When protons are introduced into the matrix through ATP synthase, by this manner ATP is going to synthesize. You see here in this video, when a pH gradient develops, protons are introduced via ATP synthase. As a result, within the mitochondrial matrix, ADP combines with the inorganic phosphate moiety, which leads to the ATP formation.